Hi everybody, welcome to today's review. Today I'm reviewing an item from Esterbrook, and it's something that I am actually really excited about. This is how it comes in the mail. Plain cardboard sleeve over the lovely linen covered Esterbrook case, which on the top there says Esterbrook established 1858. And now 1858 is of course the original Esterbrook brand. Now I'm not going to go give a full rundown of the Esterbrook current Esterbrook system and all that, but suffice to say, this was a brand that was around, as I said, from 1858. Massive pen brand in the USA, huge, the biggest probably, and many pens, many nibs, interchangeable nibs, all of that sort of stuff, like a really big deal. They went out of business. It was taken over by someone else who sort of did stuff that was not up to standard. And then a few years ago, it was bought by Kenro Industry, who have relaunched Esterbrook with a range of pens, one at a time over the last couple of years. I've been really lucky to review a few, and today I get to review this one, which is the JR Pocket Pen. Nice, as I said, simple, box, magnetic latch, opens up, America's Original Reborn written there in the top. You get a little bit of warranty information and, like information about the brand and a polishing cloth and all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, you get the pen sitting there under an elastic band on a nice little cushion, a cartridge there in the package, and a converter in the pen. This is the Capri finish, which is the very rich dark blue with these hits of beautiful chatoyant light blue that just ripples through the pen, which is really, really beautiful. So let's talk about the parts and features of the pen. We'll do things like specs and some writing sample, and then talk about some pros and cons. Let's start at the top of the pen. On the top of the pen is the Esterbrook logo there. Once again, that eternity logo symbol there, and then we get a gold clip. So there are three. First, I'll say there are three models of this pen. There's the Carmine, the Tuxedo, and the Capri. The Carmine is a red, the Tuxedo is sort of a black, and the Capri is the blue. The Tuxedo and the Carmine come with silver trim, and the Capri with gold trim. So everything that's gold on this pen is chrome colored on the other models. So the little gold logo on the top of this one, gold clip. The cap swells to a center band which has Esterbrook laser engraved on it, and then enter the cap, step down off the cap to the barrel, which is considerably more narrow than the pen itself. That cap continues along to another gold band and then tapers down to a gold end cap. Gold colored, I really should say. The cap unscrews in like 1.5 to like almost 2, 3/4 turns, but they're nice, very smooth threads, and there's a nice sort of grip on them. The threads there are quite smooth. And the section here is interesting. So as you can see, it sort of goes out straight, and then this little hourglass, and then as I said, it goes down onto the nib. Now the nib is a number 5 Yovo nib, which has been laser engraved with once again the logo of Esterbrook on the front there, and of course the nib grade. This is a medium number 5 nib, which actually is very much in proportion with the body of this pen, and the pen does post. Now that is important that this pen posts, because this is a smaller pen. As I said, this is the Esterbrook JR Pocket Pen, so in the hand it is a small pen. Like, there's no denying that it's a small pen, but probably just long enough to be able to be used unposted, but posted it becomes a really nice length pen, and very, very comfortable in the hand, and good balance and good weight as well. The pen is a cartridge converter pen, with a metal sort of unit there where the converter or cartridge plugs into, which connects to the nib housing, and of course the nib. It comes with a Esterbrook branded converter, which is, I think by the looks of it, made by Schmidt, one of normal Schmidt converters, and then the barrel. So you do have metal threads on acrylic here. It's a turned acrylic material, so like not injection mold or anything like that, but it is acrylic. because it is standard international, as I said, it comes with a cartridge and a converter. It does mean that any of the standard international cartridges should work in this pen. Because there are metal components to the pen, like there, you cannot eyedropper this pen. It would be a good pen to eyedropper in a lot of ways, but I think that cartridge and converter is a good system, particularly for a pen that goes into your pocket. So let's do a little bit of a size comparison now with a couple of other pens. Straight up, we'll look at it at the ever familiar Lamy Safari. So you can see it is a smaller pen. Now I'll do the size comparisons with this pen because this is what people will be more familiar with. So uncapped, you can see it is also a smaller pen in comparison to the Lamy Safari. And posted, while it does post sort of quite deeply and quite securely, it does add a nice length to the Esterbrook pen. It's still going to come in, shorter than the Lamy Safari, but this is a pocket pen. I now want to show it alongside one other pen that I think is in a way which jumped out as me going, oh, is this in a similar sort of size or feel to this pen, which is the Pelikan M20 or 200, 205. This is a 250. It's a vintage one with a gold nib, but it's the same basic specifications. So if you are familiar with that pen, you will know that this is just a little bit bigger than that. So if you're comfortable with the Pelikan and how that feels in the hand and all of that, I think you'll be quite comfortable with the Esterbrook JR. Now, I do want to show it alongside a few other Esterbrook pens because, well, why not? So since they launched, they've really come out with three other sort of primary models and a couple of different versions, but these are the main ones. So you get the Este, which is a big pen, it's a considerable size pen. The Phaidon, which is a bit bigger and I think doesn't quite fit the same family as a lot of these other Esterbrook pens. And then the Camden, which I think is a really good pen. For me, the Este is the most closely related in a way to the JR. Now the JR, I should say here, is designed to be a modern take on the original Esterbrook J, which was one of their most popular pen models in the 1940s and 50s. It had a range of sort of simple colours like these. Was a slightly smaller pen, and even things like the clip are designed to be sort of homages to that classic pen. This is just a more modern version with a few things like a German nib and a cartridge converter, filling system and all of that. But if we see it, yes, in comparison to these other Esterbrook pens, you see it's the smallest model, and it's also, for me, actually, along with the Este there, probably one of the most recognizable to the brand. Let's talk the specs of the JR now. So, capped, it's 125 millimeters, small pen. Uncapped, it's 117, which is just verging on too small. The way that this section is designed does guide your fingers further down the section, giving a bit more length at the back here, but not giving you a huge amount of length between fingers and tip of the nib on the paper. Posted, it becomes a very comfortable length at 150, and if you hold it slightly further back, it actually does give a very nice feel in the hand there. The section is slim. It's around the 9 millimeter mark. So if you're one of these people that is around the 10 to 11 millimeter mark, this is going to feel very slim in the hand. The weight of the pen is 19 grams. And of that 19, 13 are in the body and 6 are in the cap. So posting it does put a third of the weight of the pen on the back, but it doesn't feel so bad because the weight is quite far down because it's not a huge pen. So let's talk the price of this pen. Now, the JR retails for, full retail price, MSRP price is $175 US. Its sort of street price is around the $140 mark, which I think makes it a much more palatable pen. But I'll get into that just in a second. So let's do a writing sample now. I have Clairefontaine paper here. This is Clairefontaine 90-gram paper. And we have the Esterbrook JR pocket pen with a steel Yovo medium nib. The ink I'm using here is Diamine 1864 blue black. Interesting, there were two tiny little hard starts there. It's not something I've experienced with this pen at all. I have found this pen to be an incredibly reliable writer. I've written it dry twice already. Refilled it recently in the last couple of days for this review. Let's just do some writing and see how it goes. So another hard start there. But as I said, I've not experienced that with this pen up until right now. So, quick writing. In that sample, of course, that's incredibly untidy writing. It's not designed to be legible. I was a little bit aggressive with it. I was sort of seeing if I could get it to hard start again like that, and I wasn't able to. Like it, you know, was sort of more sort of jerky writing, and with sort of smooth writing, it's going to be a really lovely pen. It's not a dry pen at all. Like it's actually like verging on what I would consider to be a wet writer. And you know, it's very comfortable in the hand. It's a very smooth pen to write with. There's not a lot of feedback. There's, you know, a decent ink flow, all of that. Reverse writing, like, dries out and stuff like that. It's a rigid nib. You're not going to get line variation. I'm not going to push it. You just put a little bit more ink down on the page, like a lot of pens that are not designed as flex pens. But as you can see, for the most part, a couple of hard starts, which, as I said, are not what I have found in the normal everyday using of this pen over the last little while. It's a reliable, smooth writing pen and a lovely feel on the page. So let's talk about pros and cons for the Esterbrook JR pocket pen. Well, let's start with the cons. I really don't have many. I actually really enjoy this pen. It is a smaller pen. That is going to be an issue for some people. It's small, it's slim. But that is what they were going for. They were not trying to make, you know, another Esty, which is a large, you know, pen with a sort of fairly sizable section on it. They were going for something more indicative of the history of the brand, and a small pocket pen, an everyday carry pen for, you know, all sizes of hands. That is what they were going for here, and I think they've actually really nailed it. I think, you know, the size of the pens, the proportions of the pen are all fairly good in that respect. I do wonder if the cap is a little bit large, particularly in profile, you know, for the shape of the pen and the shape of the body, but that might just be my personal taste. The other thing I have an issue with is I think this is at the top end of its price point. Like, I really don't, like, at full retail MSRP, 175, I think it's pushing it for a steel nib pen, cartridge converter pen with a number 5 nib, you know, from just a turned acrylic pen. At 140, I think it's at the top end of its price. I think it's got value, and I love writing with this pen. And any pen, the value is not in the cost or whatever. The value is in the experience of using it and the enjoyment you get from using it. And I get a lot of enjoyment using this pen. I think it's a beautiful pen. I think it writes really well, and I really enjoyed using it over the last little while. So what are the pros? Well, okay, it's got a really nice nib. Like, it's a simple Yovo steel number 5. But it writes really beautifully, and there are nib options, and lots of them. So a lot of retailers Like the minimum that I've seen is extra fine, medium, extra fine, fine, and medium. But some retailers also will stock a broad and a 1.1 millimeter stub. And the Yovo nibs, even the number 5s here, are really nice in that. I think the material is nice. It's got a really nice feel. It's beautifully finished, and the tolerances are all really like on point. There's no sort of sharp edges on any of these bands, and the threads are all nicely done. The materials look great. Those nice sort of flecks of that blue are just absolutely beautiful. So it's good. It's nice. It's also a convenient pen because it's not huge. Put that into your pocket very easily. Like the threads are secure enough to have in your pocket. The size of it's good. Fit in most sort of pen cases and things like that. So it's convenient. The other thing I love about this pen is the history attached to it. They have taken the 1940s, 1950s Esterbrook J and have modernized it, or the JR, so J Reborn, or Revisited, or, it's that, they've taken something from the brand's history, the original brand that was so important in the pen industry and so loved, and they have made a modern cousin for that pen. As I said, a couple of little bells and whistles, like a cartridge converter, which is much more convenient. Slightly longer clip so that, it has a better, sort of purchase in pockets, things like that, a little bit more balanced. But it pays homage to a pen that was very loved and very important to the brand, and that is really nice. It's a nice direction to see Esterbrook going in. So, this was the Esterbrook JR Pocket Pen. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here or drop me an email which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would really love to hear from you. It's your support that makes this channel possible. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.